What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Spelts Family Business Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Koby.
And I'm Ryan.
Yep, and today we're going to be talking about some gun stories. So we both knocked doors before. I started knocking doors, selling pest control out in Texas, which is the gun state, and got kind of some funny stories about my first day, and I know you probably have multiple.
So I don't have that many, actually, from knocking doors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've had a guy show me his piece in his waistband, pull up his shirt.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I've ever had on the doors.
Brandishing, which is illegal.
Yeah, illegal, but
yeah. I mean, I guess you're kind of on their property.
Yeah, trespassing. Depends on the state.
You're not really a threat.
Yeah.
The gun laws in each state kind of differ, but
yeah,
people in Texas, man, they love guns.
But funny enough, I have my fair share of gun stories that are not tied to selling. So
yeah, for sure. So yeah, we're going to kind of talk about some of those stories, some of our experiences with that. It's not something that happens to everybody in direct sales that, knocks doors and talks to people for a living like that, random people. You never know what you're going to run into. And I remember after that happened, I was so freaked out for the longest time. Like, I knock on it. I actually have two gun stories, both from Texas. And
especially because it happened your first day.
It happened my first day knocking doors, which is crazy.
So let's dive into it. How did you get recruited and all of that?
Yeah, so I had a buddy. He went out and sold pest control in Texas the year before. And it's funny because we weren't really super tight in high school. Like, we weren't super close. But we weren't super close. And he came back, started talking about it. And I had already been looking into doing door-to-door. I think part of it was I wanted to learn sales, but started talking to him, and he was like, yeah, man, I went out, worked my butt off for the summer, made really good money, and then they pay you throughout the winter. I was like, that sounds pretty sweet. Like, I'm down for that. So I had talked to some other companies beforehand, but just because I had some buddies that were already doing it, I was like, might as well go out with my buddies. That makes it even more fun, So I signed up with a pest control company and ended up going out early. So I went out during preseason, and it was kind of weird because we were meant to go to Florida. That was where we were, or sell in Florida. We lived in Alabama, but because I did preseason, we did preseason in Austin, Texas. And so that was kind of where I learned how to knock doors, which the pest control, business out there is crazy saturated. Like, there are so many pest control companies, so many door knockers in general.
Because they have cockroaches. People hate cockroaches.
Cockroaches and the fire ants, man.
Ants?
Fire ants. Like, I remember there were mounds, like fire ant hills that were like 2-3 feet tall, walking through neighborhoods.
Jeez.
Just crazy. So I get out there, they're training us on how to knock doors.
So you get in the car, drive. They train you there or here?
There. So, they kind of started some of the training, like, through the winter. I had to memorize the skeleton pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's all straightforward. Pest control is super, super easy to sell.
Yeah.
So they give me the skeleton pitch. I kind of had the basics memorized. I actually have a video on my phone, and I had Mom record it. But the manager, he was like, okay, I want you to, like, do a role play, essentially, and knock on your own door and have, like, one of your family members do it. So I have the video on my phone, and it is the cringiest video. Like, watching my first pitch, I had knocked doors, like, growing up. Like, I had done.
It's like a kid from the neighborhood.
But it's a kid from the neighborhood, completely different. You're actually going to people you have no contact with. You're from a different state, you know. And so that video is pretty funny. But I get out there, and the first day I was out there, I didn't knock because I was kind of setting up the apartment, getting everything moved in, getting kind of settled and stuff. And that night, I went out and shadowed my manager. And this guy's, like, insane door-to-door guy. Like,
legendary.
Just legendary. Like, literally had the biggest first, like, rookie summer in the whole company history. Sold, like, 450 accounts or something crazy like that, which is a ton. Like, I think the average is, like, 150, maybe 150. Maybe.
I bet if you took the actual average, it'd probably be below 100.
Below 100, probably. Yeah, and you have to sell over 100 to actually make money.
Yeah.
So if you don't sell 100, then you're out of luck.
That's well.
So yeah, he takes me out that first night, and I'm shadowing him, and he's like, well, like, go across the street, start knocking. And I was like, oh, okay. luckily I had just watched it right before, so saw him do it a couple times, and the second door I knocked, I closed. And I was like, awesome. Yes, that's sweet. Like, that's so cool. But I was like, okay, beginner's luck. He had to come over and help me. Like, I texted him really fast. I was like, dude, come over here. I don't know how to sign these guys up. Like, you got to come help me. So he runs over, helps me sign them up, and I was pumped.
This was in Austin.
This was in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next day was my first official day. And I was thinking, okay, I'll probably have somebody out helping me. No, just trial by fire. They just dropped me off, and they said, good luck. And so I knocked on my first door, and the person comes out, and I'm like, hi, my name is Koby. Like, the words didn't come out. I was freaking out, shaking, like so scared. And, 5 doors goes by, and I finally got my name out right. And then I think it was probably my 20th or 30th door in that neighborhood. I knocked on the door. Just happened that the lady needed pest control. So I signed her up. I'm like, yes, first day on my own. Sold a deal. So I'm stoked, like so pumped. The rest of my pitches went way better after that because you kind of have some confidence after.
So this was she was already thinking about it.
It was a lay down.
So I always called these low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
Like, if you just go work, you're going to find somebody to buy because they're like, oh, I need pest control, right? So that's great. I've been thinking about getting pest control, whatever. So
exactly.
You got the low-hanging fruit.
So it was nice.
But it's awesome. Builds your confidence.
Builds my confidence. Makes me feel a little more comfortable and a little more like, okay, I can do this. I am the bug guy.
And you weren't bad enough to make her
not want it. Yeah. She liked me enough that she was like, yeah, no, we'll do it.
Because you can do that, right?
Yeah,
you can
for
be
sure.
bad enough that
for sure.
You talk them out of it.
Deter people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm knocking the rest of the day. I'm so pumped. I texted my manager like, dude, I got one. He's hyping me up. And so I'm all pumped up. And it was all day long. I didn't get another deal. And it was getting dark. It was like 7:30 at night. And it was springtime, so it was getting dark. And I knocked on a door. And I was like, man, are these guys home? Like, I don't know what's going on. So I knocked again. And they told us, knock a couple times. If they don't answer, ring. And it was my first day, so I was ambitious. So I rang the doorbell again.
Supposed to do, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I don't think they're home. So I turn around and start walking away. And then I hear the door open. And when you hear the door open, you're like, it's game time. Like, right. I gotta. Yeah, here we go. So I turn around ready to be like, I'm the bug guy. Like, buy some pest control.
Get into your spiel.
And I hear, and I look over, and he's got a Glock in his hand. And he's like, get the hell off my property. Like, dude must have been on some drugs or something. Looked like he was kind of tweaking a little bit.
Yeah.
And he totally had a gun. And I was like, I'm just a bug guy. I'm sorry. And I turned around, and I just booked it. I called my manager. I'm like, dude, some guy just pulled a gun on me. Have you ever had that happen? He's like, yeah, dude, it happens all the time. He's like, just don't go back around that house. I was like, okay. So I'm like shaking, like adrenaline's high. I'm freaking out. Ended up only getting one deal that day, but that was my first day knocking doors. I got a gun pulled on me right at the end. So it was a good day because I got a sale, but freaked me out a little bit after that. And then I think it was like a month later, right before we were supposed to move to Alabama, I had another one where I knock on the door and nobody answers, knock again, nobody answers. So I turn around, same situation. I'm walking away thinking nobody's home. And I turn around, I'm walking just down the sidewalk, going to the next house, and I hear the door open, and this guy comes storming out. And I was like, whoa. And I see a gun in his hand. He comes out like ready to freaking fight somebody. And I look at him, I'm like, whoa, dude. Like, I had already been through the situation before. So I was like, listen, man, like, I'm not trying to cause problems. Like, I'm just a door knocker. I sell pest control. I don't want to bug you. I'll leave. And he puts the gun behind his back. He's like, dude, I thought you were somebody else.
Oh, jeez.
So the rest of the day I'm thinking, man, should I stay in this neighborhood? Like, is there going to be a gunfight or something? Like, who was he waiting for? Who did he think I was pounding on his door?
His dealer that he owes $10,000 to?
Maybe something, but came out hot and ready and then realized that I was just a pest control salesman and put the gun behind his back, and his son came out with him and stuff. They were ready to fight somebody. I was like, holy cow. So those are my gun stories.
Wow. That's crazy.
Kind of wild.
Yeah. I didn't have very many knocking doors. I mean, I didn't knock doors. So I did pest control and I did alarms. And for those who are not from Utah, the door-to-door industry in Utah is massive. I was from Las Vegas at the time, but I went to school in Idaho, and it just kind of overflows up into Idaho. But they take these younger, young men and young women, and they teach them how to do door-to-door. Door-to-door, obviously, none of us really love when somebody comes knocking on our door to sell something, especially if you're in the middle of something. I try to treat everybody with respect just because I did it. Yep. I've been there. I've been in their shoes before. Mm-hmm. But it is a good way to get out and get in front of people that you otherwise wouldn't probably have a chance at. It's an interesting approach to marketing, but it does work. And it's a beneficial way to sell certain products. So solar industry was built on door-to-door. The alarm industry was built on door-to-door. And so was the pest control industry built on door-to-door. So I sold alarms and I sold pest control. But I only had, like I said, a brandishing. Guy showed me his gun. I've had people threaten me, Yeah. I'm going to get my gun. But I never knocked in Texas, so I don't know. I've knocked in several states, but not Texas. It's a tough gig. It's a mentally taxing gig, but you can really make good money. I remember Mom would come home. I'd be playing video games, and she'd be like, "What are you doing? Aren't you going to work today?" I'm like, "I already made $1,000 today. I'm good."
Yeah.
So I think it's even though some people would be like, "I would never do that." Yeah. If you're ambitious and you want to learn sales, it could be a really good way to do that. I think it gets a bad reputation, primarily because people become pushy when they try to do that. But I think if you can steer clear of that, you have to have a little bit of, assertiveness. But if you can steer clear of being a pushy jerk, it helps. But you had a big day yesterday.
I did. Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so had a roof max job in the morning, went out and sprayed that. It was a small one. It was like half a roof. She had the backside replaced. So, but then I sold 2 backup batteries, and sold another roof max job, big one. It was like $7,000, and then sold a new roof too. So I think it was right around 90,000, 85, 90,000. So one of my bigger days. Yeah. Probably ever. I mean, pest control, your contracts aren't super big, so my biggest days in pest control were like, $5 to $10,000 worth of pest control, and that's just like the contract value, because they're paying like $50 a month maybe. Yep. But I think my biggest day selling pest control, I don't know the revenue, but it was like, I think I had a 9-day where I sold nine pest control accounts. I was never the craziest salesman with pest control. Still 9 really
separate
good.
Customers in a day.
Yeah, it was a good day, but
that's cool.
And door-to-door it's interesting. Like, I think a lot of people hate door-to-door salesmen because of those, like you said, the people that are kind of jerks about it, where they're too assertive, where they're like, "No, you need this right now. You need this. Like, give me your money," Mm-hmm. And especially when you catch somebody at a wrong time, like, "Oh man, I've been cussed off so many porches. It's ridiculous." And there were times where I definitely wasn't the most respectful, because if somebody comes out hot and heavy and they're just,
your adrenaline's going
bashing on me. Oh yeah. So there were some times where I got the cops called on me.
This is one of the books I'm going to write, by the way.
Yeah.
How to sell so that your mom still likes you.
Right. Yeah. That's actually a good idea. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, I had the cops called on me a couple times.
I think especially when you're young, you're a little quicker to temper, and so somebody comes out and attacks. As I progressed, I had moments like that too, and things I'm probably I'm not proud of. Luckily, my memory's not so good anymore, so I don't remember them super well. But I do remember that at a certain point, I realized it's better to treat people with respect and not get the sale. And then I learned a little trick. And if you're in sales, this little trick will help you no matter what you sell. But it is when you get a really rude person or somebody who's like really ornery with you, chalk it up to bad timing. Chalk it up to bad timing. Who knows what they're going through in their life? I have a really good friend going through cancer right now, right? She's my age. That's freaking crazy, mm-hmm. I have other friends who've had a family member die, or have family members who are dealing with major problems. We have another friend dealing with cancer who you played baseball with their son. Do you remember? I can see his face. I'm trying to think of his name. They live over by the Petersons on that street. His dad, I can't think of their name for some reason. Anyway, I can totally see their faces.
Yeah.
But he's got a tumor on his spine. It's causing him problems being able to walk and things like that. So,
yeah, you just never know.
Who knows? Maybe they got fired.
Right.
Maybe somebody was just really rude to him on the phone. Maybe they just got bad news. Who knows? Maybe they just not sleeping. Like, I'm way shorter tempered when I don't sleep well. Super short tempered when I don't sleep well. And I try to like separate it and say, okay, I'm not going to be mean to people. But then people say or do something that just irks you. Mm-hmm. And it's just really hard to hold in your, frustrations. So anyway,
I feel like one thing that like when you're a brand new door-to-door salesman, I just remember like the trainings and stuff. They are like crazy, man. Some of the guys that sell pest control, the ones that are really, really good, like my manager, selling 450 accounts a year, he got close to 1,000 a couple times. Like they just keep pushing until they slam the door in your face. And I've never been that way, but one of the things that I got really, really good at is instead of like blowing up and freaking out at somebody, it's de-escalation. Just de-escalate the situation. Just make them realize you're a human being too. And you say, hey, listen, man, like I get that if it's bad timing, like it's okay. But you can also tell people, like I've told people before, like, hey, listen, man, like I've been nothing but nice to you. I've been nothing but respectful. If you ask me to leave, I will leave. But there's no need to be rude to somebody who's just out here working. I'm just trying to make a living.
Yeah.
This is what I do. And it makes it way harder when people like you come out and start screaming at me and like calling me names and all that stuff. And typically people will be like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm really not interested, but I'm sorry for coming out hot and heavy. Like we've just had so many door knockers and they just get pissed about it, which I understand. It's annoying.
Get interrupted for the 14th time that week. I've
exactly, for sure. Or you like knock right in the middle of dinner and they get up thinking it's something important and then they...
Getting pitched.
There you are. Yeah, you get a pitch.
I just had one this week.
Yeah.
And what's crazy was they didn't even charge us anything. It was the gas company. They do these house, to see if you have any leaks that are causing airflow to get out and inefficiency, especially in the winter. The gas company has a rebate for it. They pay them directly. You don't pay anything as a homeowner. But I was just in the middle of like 10 things. Yeah. And so I was like, what's up, man? I got to go. Like, I got things I'm working on. I'm in the middle of like 4 things. Mm-hmm. And, he was really patient, kept his happiness, and I'm not mean to him. Mm-mm. I can be short though, because I was really busy and I was in the middle of stuff. So you just chalk it up to bad time if you get a bad one.
For sure. It's funny because I actually had people like that too, where I actually sold them. Yeah. I had some like, when you're knocking in wealthier neighborhoods, like I remember I had a couple people where knock on the door. They're like, dude, I am so busy right now. Like, I do not have time for this. What are you here for? And I would just say, okay, give you my elevator pitch. I say, hey, yeah, I'm here doing pest control. I'm servicing some of your neighbors. This is what it is. This is what it costs. And I totally had like 2 or 3 sign up that way, where they're just like, I do not have time. How fast can you sign me up? I'm like 2 minutes.
That's awesome.
So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But door-to-door is so weird.
People probably appreciate that.
They do.
Because I appreciate it when people just get to the freaking point.
Yeah, my one-liner was always, hey, man, listen, I don't want to waste your time. You probably don't want to waste mine. And so I'll make it quick. And then just super, super fast. And they don't need to know all the details. They just want pest control. They know they want it. So that's door-to-door is such an interesting industry because it is the game of no's.
Oh, yeah.
Just getting no's all day long until you find a yes. And it's not just door-to-door, it's sales in general, Yeah. Like you're going to get no's.
We used to say if it was mostly yeses, more people would do it.
Everybody would do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's mostly no's.
It's mostly no's, for sure.
Hundreds sometimes of no's.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I remember days knocking, and, after Texas, we weren't quite into the heat of the season. Like, it was still springtime when we were in Texas. But we got out to Alabama and Florida, and there were long, long days. I'm working 10, 12 hours, and it's so hot and so humid. I knock on people's doors, and they'd be like, are you okay? Like, are you all right? Like, do you need some water?
Just
like, come inside for a second. Like, they're like, we don't want to buy anything, but, like, you don't look well. I'd show up, like, beet red and just covered. My shirt is drenched because I'm sweating so much.
So humid, too.
And after a while, you become acclimated and you get used to it. And so I'd show up and I'm like, yeah, I'm doing great. They're like, man, you don't look okay. Luckily, we had Segways. Yeah. So we're the ones like zooming around. It's kind of like it's kind of a meme now, like salesmen rolling around on
Yeah.
Segways, but that helps a lot. Like, it doesn't help you cardiovascular wise, like, because you're just scooting around all day and then eating terrible. So I gained a bunch of weight out there, but it's makes it a little easier. You can catch a breeze
It
too.
is not the lifestyle for healthy eating.
No.
Because you're always on the go. You're never around. You don't have time for.
Yeah.
It's just,
I remember at the beginning of the summer, I was so ambitious. I was like, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to do so good. And I'm going to keep working out. Like, I'm going to eat really good. I'm going to meal prep. And then you get home after a long day, and the last thing you want to do is talk to anybody or cook food.
let alone cook.
Or cook food. So freaking frozen pizzas, man. That was like my diet. And then fast food.
Yeah.
Anything
frozen
quick. Frozen burritos. Like anything fast that just took
Terrible
zero
for
effort. So I could just lay down on the couch and just, be a zombie. It's pretty taxing. Like it's crazy getting back into sales. I don't really do a whole lot of door to door. Like I'll knock doors too still. But it's
You're not canvassing.
I'm not canvassing, which is nice.
You'll hit a few doors around a job, or you'll see a job,
sure.
you'll see a roof that needs it, or whatever. But
yeah, and I had to at first because I had to go out and self-generate a couple leads so that they would give me company leads and stuff. And but once that was done, I don't really have to knock doors anymore. I will, just because I'll see stuff and I'm like, hey, this could help, right? Might as well. But it's crazy getting back into the sales game where I'm selling all day. Like I didn't get home till. I stopped by my girlfriend's house, so I didn't get home till like 10:30, but I didn't get done until 9:30. Like, just long days. I started yesterday at like 8 o'clock, loading up the trailer, going out, spraying a job, came back, dropped the trailer off, had to go to an appointment. That appointment took like 3 hours, drove to the next appointment. That appointment took an hour and a half. Drove to my next appointment, that one took 2 hours. Like, just crazy long days. And then I get done. I had to coach Nikel, my girlfriend. I had to tell her, like, listen, I love you, and, like, I want to hang out with you, but if we hang out after a long day of sales and you're asking me a million questions, like, I might lose my cool. Like, I might freak out because I have no emotions left.
Yeah.
I'm just like an empty cardboard box at this point, and she's gotten better at it. Like, she knows when I'm just dead tired. And
I had to do that with Mom too.
Yeah.
And I totally understand because she cares. She wants to know how your day went. Mm-hmm. Hear about your life. Mom, I'm sure Nikel feels the same way. Mom used to feel really like disconnected from me because I'd be gone all day, like crazy long days. And I'd come home and she'd be like, well, how was it? How'd it go today? And I told her, I said, look, if I had a good day, I'm going to be pumped. I'm going to come home and tell you about it. Mm-hmm. But if I had a bad day, the last thing I want to do is relive it. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, it's better if I come home and you tell me about your day, and then I'll fill in where I can. But like, it kind of is painful when you have to relive the really tough days.
Yeah.
When you're tired and you didn't get the sales you wanted to get, especially when you miss some that if you had said things differently, you could have got them. Mm-hmm. Those are the most painful.
Worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get all the ones you're supposed to get, and sometimes you just get a bad day, a bad lineup of people, and you just don't have anybody that was even close, that's okay. Yeah. It's when you don't get some that you should have got. Like, you're like, if my manager had done that, he totally would have sold them.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how, like, so many people just couldn't deal with the roller coaster, the sales roller coaster. It's frustrating sometimes, but then those really good days, man, that's what you hold on to.
They're almost like adrenaline hits.
I remember them telling me before I went out and sold, they were like, it's like a drug. Yeah. Like, it literally, it's like a high. You get that sale and you're like so pumped up, and then you run to the next one because you're so excited, And,
that's why it's easier to sell the next one. Right. They say, what's the best time to make a sale? Right after you made a sale, because you're excited, you're pumped, your energy level's high.
Gives you some momentum, and then it carries into the next appointment. And like that 9-day that I had selling pest control, like, I remember the last door that I knocked, I was like, this one, I'm selling him. I don't care what he says. I don't care what he does. Like, I am going to sell this appointment. And I knocked on his door, came out, military guy, do-it-yourselfer, like, loved to do his own pest control. Didn't have a whole lot of time to do it, and it was a super buggy area. So I just remember, like, I was very respectful, but also really pushy. Like, I wasn't going to leave until he signed up. I was like, I'm not leaving, man. Like, I signed up 8 of your neighbors today. This is a buggy area. You need this. Like, just let me take care of it. And I remember him at the end, he was like, you know, I don't even want the pest control, but he's like, I want you to get paid for this deal. So he's like, I'm going to sign up. When can I cancel so that you still get paid? And I was like, I told him the day, I was like, yeah, you can cancel at this time and then I'll still get my commission on it. And he was like, okay, I'll sign up. He signed up right then and there. He's like, dude, I wouldn't have signed up unless it was just, he's like, I just wanted to support you and give you the sale, because he's like, you're killing it. And I just had so much momentum, and you're, you know, so confident going into those appointments when you've already had a huge day. Like, it's super, super easy to go into it. Those slow days, though, man,
terrible.
It's so hard to get energy and to get, like, you know, to get confident on a door. But there's something magical about that feeling of, like, when you have that momentum, it's a big day and you can just feel it, and you're ecstatic. You're so excited with people. And like my appointment last night, like, I was so happy and just, like, pumped because I'd already had a big day, you know, and then closed it out with another one, and it's cool. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I used to, it was different when I did Living Scriptures because we were always at booths. And so we would sit, and sometimes, so there's 2 really frustrating things. One was when people wouldn't come over for whatever reason. We always offered a free DVD, but they wouldn't come over. Like, hundreds of people walking by, and you're just sitting there. So it's not like it's dead. If it's dead, there's a reason you're not getting pitches, right? You're not getting opportunities. But in these cases, it would be busy, and then people wouldn't come by for whatever reason. They were going somewhere, whatever. It didn't matter. Just it happened. Mm-hmm. And then other times, you were slammed. But there were times when I would do just little 15-minute pitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like, just in a row. You're just like ripping through them because everybody's stopping. There's no breaks in between. It doesn't matter if you're hungry. It doesn't matter if you got to go to the bathroom. Like, people are lining up. They're ready to get their DVD and hear their pitch, right? And sometimes they're ready to sign up. Like, you just have to sit there and just endure it. And we're talking 12, 14-hour days sitting at a booth on a table similar to this and pitching over and over and over. You get sick of hearing yourself talk. Yeah. And you get to where you're like, did I already say this to this person? Like, it's all a blur. Yeah. And sometimes you just get on a roll like that where everybody is buying. And it's just they're saying the right things and everything's smooth. And then there's other times where you're just, like, giving out free stuff. You're like, nobody's buying. I'm just, like, dishing it out. You know, here you go, here you go, here you go.
That feels the worst.
It's the worst. Yeah. So maddening.
Yeah.
And then there's also the times when it's so dead slow and one person walks up and you're like, I'm going to get a sale, and then they don't buy.
And then they don't buy. And you're like, gosh. Yeah, when we would do the home shows, that was so,
painful.
I'm so glad we don't do those anymore, because,
our home shows here are not very good.
They just didn't work out the best. Yeah. And we just have such a small area that, like, people would come by and they'd be interested, and they're from Salt Lake. And it's like, you know, we could, but it's just.
I think if we had Salt Lake as an area, you could do pretty well at the home show down there, because I've been to that home show and it's packed with people.
Is it?
It'd be awesome.
The Ogden one is just, doesn't get enough traffic. Yeah. And they're also just brutal, man. Like, those slow days. Like, ebbs and flows, and you'll have like 20, 30 minutes where tons of people come by, but they just never really worked out for us. But man, you're just sitting there staring at the other vendors like, oh my goodness, like, why am I here?
And then that one year we were by the tree guys. What was the name of that company?
Oh no, it was the lawn care.
Yeah, they did lawns and trees, and
they would steal our people that
were. Well, they were just so maddening because they'd come out of their booth and follow people, and people were totally bugged by them, annoyed.
Oh my goodness, and they were right next to us.
And so they'd speed up and try to walk past fast, and they were walking right past us, and they would walk with them in front of our booth and block us. Yeah. And I told that guy to cut it out, and he wanted to fight.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that was funny.
I don't want to fight you, dude, but freaking stop doing that.
Yeah, it's annoying.
They packed up and left early. It was funny.
Yeah, they did.
I couldn't handle a little conflict.
Well, and then the one kid knocked my freaking computer
onto the ground.
Onto the ground. It was like concrete. And
he was just visiting, though. He wasn't.
Yeah.
That was just an accident.
Yeah, luckily, it didn't hurt the laptop. At least that I could tell on the outside. I had a case on it, but it like jacked up my charger and stuff. I was like, gosh, you guys are idiots, man.
Yeah, that was frustrating.
But
Well, I've had guns pulled on me 2 different times. Both of them, I was up to no good.
Yeah.
And I would say overall, we were pretty good kids, my group of friends in high school.
Yeah.
We were pretty good kids, but we had this rebellious streak. So we never drank or smoked or did anything like that. But we were a little feral sometimes.
Yeah.
Like we did stupid things. And I'm sure what's that called when the time to prosecute is passed?
No, I know what you're talking about. It's like 7 years or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever that's called.
It's passed, but you
It's
probably
passed.
shouldn't out yourself entirely.
I'm in my late 40s, so
Yeah.
so if there's any incriminating evidence here, it's passed.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't think of that term. Anyway, it's driving me nuts.
Yeah,
but
I can't either.
but the 2 times it happened, one was we got into this mode where we would throw water balloons. And there was a church that was along street in Las Vegas that you could get on the roof of. And it had kind of a flat roof. And we took a water balloon launcher and we would launch them out on Tropicana, which was this really busy road. We thought that was the coolest things. And we could have caused an accident, friggin' idiots.
Yeah.
Looking back on it now, I'm like, we were complete morons. But we did it. And so then one day we decided, and the cops got called on us a couple times, but we would hide. And the way that was set up, you couldn't really tell where they were coming from. There was other stuff around. We were far enough away from the road. We never got caught doing that. So anyway, one day we decided we were going to drive around and throw water balloons at cars and see if we could get chased. Freaking idiots. But it happened, right? So we get chased and we think it was hilarious till people get road rage. We were idiots. So anyway, this one time we were in 2 different cars, and the other car got chased, right? It was like the goal to get chased. That's what we would do. We'd throw water balloons, hit the car, get them to come around and chase us. So this car in a little Fiero, a Pontiac Fiero, a little like 2-door, he whips around, gets hit with a water balloon, whips around and starts chasing the other car, which was, 100 yards in front of us. So we're like, well, we'll just follow at a distance and just make sure they're okay. So we're kind of following, and they speed down the road, turn really sharp on this road. Well, this Fiero locks up when he goes to try and turn. So he locks up and skids into the curb, not hard enough to break his car, but it was, he just slid into it and kind of hit the curb. And luckily he didn't rip his front tires off, you know what I mean? But so he slides and hits the curb. And we kind of pull up behind and stop and slow because he's got to back up and then go to pursue them again. Well, we were staying out of it. And my cousin, not going to name names, but he knows who he is. But my cousin has a water balloon in his hand, and he's on the opposite side of the car. I'm on the driver's side in the back seat. He's on the passenger side in the back seat. He reaches out the back seat and goes like this with a water balloon. And I don't know how, like Murphy's Law, that thing goes up in the air. And we were a long ways away. It wasn't like we were right next to the guy. We were like probably 30, 40 yards from that car. We just kind of pulled up and stopped because we thought he was going to crash, Again, bad acting on our part. But this water balloon goes up in the air and goes into his sunroof. Directly in the car. Blows up in this guy's car.
Oh, man.
This guy tears off after the other car and reaches out the window and starts firing a handgun at this other car, at our friends. And we're like, holy crap, like, this just got real, right?
Yeah.
So now we're all freaked out. And he pulls up to a stop sign, and I think he was all hyped up. So I don't think he was like, those jerks, they threw another one and it went inside my car. He didn't associate it with us quite yet. He has now realized, wait, that had to have come from that other car, which it did.
No.
And I'm sitting in the back seat, and under my legs is a bucket full of water balloons. So this guy jumps out of his car, and he seemed a little crazy to start with, but he jumps out of his car at the stop sign. We're kind of behind him, and we had stopped a ways back, but he comes running back, and he's brandishing this gun, and he's got it pointed in our faces. And I don't know, we were pretty freaked out, and it's kind of a legendary moment in our friendship because I lost my cool on this guy. And they're like, everybody else is freaked out because he's got a gun, but I started yelling at him, like, what are you gonna do, murder us? And it wasn't us, it was that other car. We're chasing him too. I lied, but this guy was just kind of losing his mind, and it actually calmed him, and he finally walked off and got in his car and drove away. But it was a crazy moment, and I don't know what happened, but something snapped in me, and I just started telling him off. I mean, I'm lucky he didn't start shooting.
Yeah,
but
for real.
It was the right thing in that moment. I didn't know it at the time, but me like telling him off was actually the thing that calmed him down, because I was just like, what are you going to murder people in the streets? Like, and I think that just kind of like made him realize, okay, chill out. This is not what I want to do. So that's my first gun story.
That's crazy.
I actually have 3, but the second one, so this is another incriminating. All 3 of these are incriminating. We're freaking idiots. My friend group, we were just so dumb. But the second one was there's this new family that moved into our neighborhood, and they were renting a house, and they were building a house. So the house was being built, but they were renting like a temporary stay place down near the strip, and it was like an extended stay. Kind of like apartments, but you could stay there by the month. And so that's where they were staying. And it was a nice place, but they started coming to church. But he's like, dude, have you ever been to the Landmark Hotel? And I was like, no. And it was shaped kind of like the needle in Seattle, kind of small, cylinder shaped base, and then kind of the Space Needle looking thing. And it had a restaurant that rotated at the top, and so they had a mini version of that at the Landmark. And he's like, it's abandoned. I think they're going to tear it down eventually or something, I don't know, or reopen it. I don't know. So they did eventually tear it down. But it was this old school Vegas casino, and it was right across the street from his extended stay place. And he's like, I want to go explore in there. It looks really cool. It's got chain link fence all the way around it, but I think we could hop the fence and go check stuff out. I was like, I'll come with you. And he was like 15, I was 16, so I drove out there, and we did that. We jumped the fence and went around and explored stuff. Well, come to find out, they have guards. And come to find out they have armed guards. But we got in there and avoided the guards. There was like a big pool area. And then we found this way onto the roof. So the casino part of it was a building, and it was kind of shaped like, think of the 60s, like the whole roof was like flat up, flat down, flat, like it was kind of shaped like that, the whole top of this one section, kind of tall too. Those jumps were probably 8 feet, 10 feet. So anyway, we didn't go really out on that section at first, but we found a way where there was a window up from this roof that was in the big cylinder part of the needle thing, right? So window was open, we climbed in. There was an air conditioning unit we could stand on and just climb in. We climbed in, climbed up the stairs. I think it was like 36 floors or something. So we went up 36 floors of stairs and get to the top. There was all kinds of stuff in there still. It had been cleared out, but for the most part, but there was like old lamps and crazy stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
Super cool. We explored. We didn't take anything. We didn't steal. We were just checking it out. There were prices. I think they'd had an auction and like auctioned off a bunch of stuff. There was prices on stuff, and it wasn't a ton of things, but there was still stuff laying around. So anyway, it was super exciting, like kind of crazy. It was dark. There were guards. Like we saw dudes kind of patrolling. So we were freaked out. So anyway, we get done and we leave. No problem. Well, smart Ryan, I go back to my main group of friends and I'm like, dude, this is what we did. And they're like, what? And it was only like, I think it was 5 of us, 4 other buddies and me. And they were like, we got to go do it. We got to go back. You can't do that stuff without us, Yeah. And so I was like, all right, let's go, dumb. So we go and do the same thing. And my same cousin that threw that water balloon, as we finished, there's 2 things that happened. One, we climb all 36 floors of stairs. It's so tiring. It's forever up there, right?
Yeah.
We're checking it all out. Well, my cousin walks over, and the elevator is right there. That we could have taken the elevator, but there's guards, right? We're not taking the elevator. It makes noise. You could tell the elevator's moving. It probably dings on their floor, and they're like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it brings them right to you, right? So not smart. So we had taken the stairs. Well, he walks over and hits the elevator button to retrieve the elevator. Well, it makes this awful noise because it hasn't been used in forever. Yeah. And we're like, dude, what the heck? Why did you do that? Yeah. So now we're in freak out mode, and we book it down the stairs. And I remember I had a fire extinguisher in my hand. And I started running down the stairs, and I'm thinking, if some guy tries to get me, I'm just going to whack him with this fire. So dumb, right? That was in my mind.
Yeah.
So I've got this fire extinguisher, and we're running down the stairs. Well, I go around one corner, and the fire extinguisher hits the handrail and bounces out right into the top of my knee. Ooh. Boom! It about crippled me on that run down the stairs. It hurt so bad, but I just kept going.
And made a big old noise.
Made a noise, but it also just
hurt.
I don't remember the noise. It was one of the most painful things I can ever remember. And my leg went numb. I just kept running. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we get all the way down to the first floor. The thing about the window that we went in is that the guards were in the second floor of this section, and you could see the light on. And they would watch TV in there and take their breaks, whatever. And so we were right below that. It was the only real option, right? So it's okay. Like, we were being stupid. We could have gotten in big trouble. We could have got trespassing, all that stuff. So we weren't damaging anything. We weren't doing any damage to anything, but we shouldn't have been in there. So anyway, we get to that first floor, and we're like on high alert, right? What's happening? And so we get to the room that you have to go into. We had the door open, like, propped open so we could get back in. We walk into the room. We get out. We're looking up at you could see, where that light was, the only light in the entire place, other than like street lights out in the parking lot. They had those on to help keep guard. And there's nothing, right? So we're like, okay, we just sat there for a few minutes just trying to see if we could hear anything. And of course, they probably had no idea. If they did hear the elevator, they wouldn't know really what to do. It just...
Yeah.
So we sat there for probably 4 or 5 minutes, and then we're like, all right, let's go, because if they're looking for us, they probably went up, and we're down now. And so we climb out. My first friend climbs out. I climb out, and you have to step on the ducting of the air conditioning. And it's one of those big metal square things, right, that have, if you've ever seen them, they kind of like are bowed up a little bit, and they have little seams and of an X. Mm-hmm. And so we step on the edge of it, because if you step in the middle, it'll go, whoa, whoa, make a big noise.
Super loud.
And so we step on the edge and get down and sit right next to the building, waiting for the other people to come through the window and get out. Well, my cousin comes out next, same cousin who did this to the elevator, and he loses his balance, and he steps right in the middle of this thing. Whoa, 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 makes this big old noise. And then my other friends are like, what the fetch? What did you?
Because
he just lost his balance and this happened.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, this guard pokes his head out the window. The window was open.
Yeah.
Pokes his head out the window, but he's looking out like this. And we're at this party, and everybody wants to go.
Oh, no.
And I'm trying to talk him out of it, but there's like 11 of us that end up. 2 cars worth, big Suburban full of people and another car. And everybody wants to go. And I'm like, we are going to get so busted.
Oh, yeah.
And so we go, but they've decided, okay, we're going to go to the other side of the parking lot, jump the fence, go across the whole parking lot, through the pool area, around the back, and then to this place where you could climb the stairs, and there was this little gap you could get over and get on the roof. And then you'd go on this flat area, you'd climb these like escape ladder, basically, fire ladder, and get on that upper level. So we get there. Well, they're already on high alert. I could tell there were more guards around, like walking around. It's a big place, but still. So we're loud because it's a bunch of teenagers that are, 11 of us, whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, you guys got to shut up, man. And so we get up onto that little roof area, and we're walking over, and we start climbing one at a time up this little ladder that goes up to this upper level. And like 4 people were probably up there, and there's 5 or 6 left, 7 left, whatever. I don't know what the numbers were, right? So, but we're in the process of climbing up here, and all of a sudden you hear, freeze right where you are. And we're like, oh crap. And instead of freezing, what do?
You start running.
We start running. We all start going up the ladder more. He starts shooting. I don't know if he's just warning shots, but he's shooting a shotgun. Boom, boom. So we start freaking out. And there were girls there. It was like a whole crew, right? So we all go up this ladder, because to go back the other way was to go back towards him. And so everybody goes up this ladder in like quick succession. Well, now we're up on this upper part where you could get into the window, and we all start scattering. No one's going into the building, right? But remember how I explained the roof?
Mm-hmm.
It's like these 10-foot drops and then 10-foot climbs and then 10-foot drops and 10-foot climbs. And they were at a slight angle, but not easy to climb.
Yeah.
So we all start trying to traverse our way across this. Who knows where we're going? We're on this tall building. Like, you can't really get off. One of my friends loses his mind. And you know those tall pine tree that are like skinny? I don't know what they're called, but they're like pine, but they go tall and skinny.
Did he jump to it?
He runs on one of the lower parts, runs over and jumps like he's Superman or something, grabs the top of this thing and tries to ride it down.
Yeah.
And he does. He freaking rides it down. But at the bottom, he freaking busts up his ankle. He gets a big sprain on his ankle, really bad. But he's down, right? So then he goes running or limping off into the bushes. We completely lost him. When we got back to the cars, this is before cell phones, right? We don't have any cell phones. We don't know.
So you're like, what do we do? Where is he?
We didn't know. Well, we weren't worried about him at this point, but eventually we're like, where is he? Where is he at? So anyway, we're freaked out. I'm keeping names out of this on purpose. So anyway, we go. I'm the only one that's going to get busted now.
Right.
I'm telling the story. So anyway, this guy, the guard's chasing us. Well, all of the guards are now coming out of the hotel, coming out of the room. We can hear them all. You know, they're yelling, they're talking. We can hear it all. And we get out over the pool area, and the pool area, it was actually low enough that it was kind of like a regular roof, like a house roof, where it was a little bit different. It wasn't too bad. And we could kind of climb down like there was like a pipe with wires, and there was this little fence you could climb onto and get down, right? So we start like filing people down this thing. And luckily, everybody else was able to go down, get off the roof, and go running across the parking lot and get into the Suburban.
Yeah.
And the other car. Well, now this other guy's missing. So we're freaking out. We're like, what do we do? Cell phones weren't even a thought in our minds at this point. Like, we don't even, so we're just like, we don't know what to do. Well, we get in the car and we start driving. And as we pull around the corner, he comes out of the bushes and he jumps in the car real quick. And we hear police sirens coming.
No way.
And so luckily we're in like a mom car, right? Like the most suburban you could find, right? So we pull up to the next intersection, and like 4 or 5 cop cars come ripping through the section, and we turn and look, and in the parking lot of the landmark, there's like 6 security guards standing there holding weapons.
No way.
And they were waiting for the police to come pursue us. And so we just acted casual and just drove through and drove off, and they never suspected us. And luckily there's some traffic. Like if we were the only car around, they might have stopped us, but there was a little bit of traffic, not a lot. And we just drove off and, of course, never went back until they imploded the thing. And we were all like, we have to go. That's like an epic place in our friendship history, And so we went and watched as they imploded it. It was crazy.
That's so cool.
Knocked that building down. I probably got exposed to asbestos because we got pretty close.
Probably, yeah.
A big old nasty building, but.
Yeah. So I have one more gun story. So anyways, we got an Airbnb, and it's like, I can't remember like the sectors or the sections in New Orleans, but it was a pretty rough area, and we could tell.
Yeah.
And we pull up.
You don't really know until you get there.
Right, exactly. The Airbnb looks great on the pictures, and then you pull up and you're like, oh, this is kind of a crummy area. Anyways, we didn't care. We're like, whatever, we're here.
Yeah.
And we were traversing, so it was like we were only going to be there for a night anyways. And so we pull up to this Airbnb, and it's a condo. But my buddy hops out of the car, and he's like, dude, we should pull really close to the neighbor's car. So I'm like, okay, whatever, So he's like pulling me in, and then he's like, ooh, you're getting really close. So then he has me stop. I park, I get out of the car, and I'm like half an inch from the neighbor's car. Like total bozo move. Can't believe I did it. It was really dumb. Anyways, get out of the car. We start unloading all of our stuff, all of our luggage and everything. And, we've got like our whole life packed up into these cars. So they're just packed tight, chuck full. So anyways, we are unloading. We've got like a caravan, a train of people just like going in and out of this condo. But the other side of the condo wasn't an Airbnb. It was a rental. And this was like right after the heat of COVID. And so, and it was in kind of a crummy area. And that will become kind of important later. So I'll kind of cover that later. But anyways, we're unloading all this stuff. And this guy comes out very apparently on drugs. Very obvious. Comes out just screaming and yelling. And he's like, who parked next to my car? Like, he's like, who got this close? I got in a crash last week, cost me a ton of money. Insurance is raised, all this stuff. Super, super mad. And he's obviously mad because it's a bunch of kids staying in the Airbnb, so he thinks we're going to be super loud and going crazy all night, keeping him up. They had a baby. And so anyways, I'm like, dude, like, we'll move the car. Not a big deal at all. And, you know, we're all salesmen, so I run over to the next door neighbors. And in New Orleans, I think it's like pretty common for people to just hang out on the porch. They wave to their friends as they walk by. Like, everybody's talking to each other. Super cool. Older couple right next door. So I walk over and I'm like, hey, there's not a lot of parking space over here. Is it okay if we, you know, park in front of your house just for the night? And they were like, yeah, absolutely, bring it over. Because they watched the whole thing of this guy coming over freaking out at us.
De-escalation.
And all my friends are like freaked out. They're like, so they all ran inside, or they're just like kind of, I was the only one talking to him essentially. So then I thought we fixed the situation. I moved the car and he goes back inside. And we're still kind of unloading all of our stuff. So as we're unloading our stuff, dude comes out with a freaking loaded gun, waving it in the street. There's people walking by. I saw this lady walking down the street, sees him, goes, her face like just wide-eyed, like, oh my goodness, because he's waving the gun around like everywhere, pointing it in the street, pointing it at us.
Jeez.
And so she turns around, starts walking the other way, goes around the corner, and he gets right up in my face, and he points the gun at me. And he's like, I'm going to call the cops on you guys, just going nuts. Like, this guy's on drugs. He has no sense of reality at this point.
That's the worst part, is they're not in the right mind.
No. And so he's got the gun in my face, and it was very similar to that guy where I was just like, dude, what are you going to do? Like, you just going to kill me? Like, we're just here
close to your car.
Because I parked close to your car. I was like, we moved the freaking car, bro. Like, I'm not gonna bug you if you don't freaking bug me. But like, put your freaking gun away, dude. And anyways, he finally goes back inside. We didn't call the cops because we kind of talked to the neighbors. They saw it, and we kind of talked to the neighbors, and they were like, yeah, the cops don't really come to this area. Like, if they do, it's like way after the fact. Like, they're like, yeah, there's murders all the time in this area. So I'm freaked out. I had my gun. I had a carrier's permit, and not in New Orleans, but I was like, better freaking have it. So I put my gun in my pants, and I was like shaking. I just had a gun pointed at me, like point blank, by a freaking crack addict. I was like, I was so freaking close to dying right there. Anyways, we ended up calling the Airbnb lady, and she was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that. Like, we've had complaints about him. He's not even the tenant. He's not even the one that lives there.
Jeez.
He's the crackhead boyfriend of the lady that lives there. And I remember when he was yelling at me, he's like, I pay money to live here, and you idiot kids, and obviously just cracked out of his mind. But she was like, it ended up being a blessing for the landlord and the homeowner, because it was during COVID and people weren't paying rent. And you legally could not kick people out of their houses, even if they weren't paying. And she was like, but this is, like, you have to have so many complaints, and they have to be, like, viable complaints, like, real solid complaints. And I think she ended up kicking them out. It's kind of sad, but because it was, like, a single mom and her idiot boyfriend, you know. So I don't know. It was probably good for the landlord, maybe not for her. Hopefully she just kicked the boyfriend out. We don't know what happened.
Yeah.
She gave us our money back, though, and we went and stayed in this crappy motel.
Yeah. I stayed in a really crummy area one time when we were out in the Midwest somewhere. It was just this really run-down, crappy. You know, we booked it online. We hadn't seen it. It looked okay. It was cheap enough. Yeah. Whatever, we get there. It was just so ghetto, and it had these, like, key cards that were like punch cards. That's all I can explain. They had little holes in them. Yeah. And you'd slide it in, and then you could open the door if you had it.
Yeah.
So we went out and got dinner, came back. This had nothing to do with guns, but we walked up, and I walked to one door too soon, not really paying attention to the numbers, and not really, just, make the mistake in hotels sometimes too. I thought I was there. Walk into the room, and there was a couple in the bed asleep. It was fairly late. Yeah. And the husband sits up. He's like, big old hairy chest dude, in his tidy whities. He sits up, he's like, "What the hell?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm sorry." And in my mind, I'm like, "Why are these people in my room?"
Yeah.
And I'm like freaked out. And the wife's like, "What the heck?" And anyway, I just turn around and walk out, and I look at the door, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, the stupid key
number.
worked on the wrong door."
That's so wild.
It was so ghetto. We only stayed there one night, but
That's hilarious.
there's some crummy hotels out there, man.
Yeah, there really are.
Well, those were some fun stories.
Yeah, kind of a little different topic than we usually. It's not really business related. A little bit, I guess, sales
Doing
and
sales,
stuff.
yeah, door-to-door
just kind of
sales.
some fun stories. So we were thinking about the topic, and I was like, man, we should tell some stories, some crazy ones. So
We got plenty of them.
right, kind of cool, but getting kind of long.
Yep.
Probably wrap this thing up. So, well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoy our crazy stories, us ranting on tangents and stuff. But whatever platform you're on, if you could leave a comment, subscribe, it really helps us a ton, and then share it with other people.
Reviews help too. Leave us a
Reviews
review.
help a ton. We're a pretty small podcast. It's still pretty much just friends and family listening, but we're getting some new viewers and stuff. So we really appreciate you guys, tuning in and listening to us rant every week.
7,000 a month on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we're getting quite a few more views, which is weird to me. Still
It's
blows
our
my
shorts, like the actual full length,
mind. Yeah.
30 to 40.
Little
So,
segments of it. Those, they get a lot of views. But
yeah.
either way, we still really appreciate you guys tuning in. And that's it for this week. So make sure and tune in next week, and we'll see you guys.
See you later.